Oh my god.
Come on. Okay, put my phone on my phone. Huh?
That's fine. Dude, I'm glad with that. Oh my god. It took so long, but it was worth it. What happened? Yes. I'm the best. This is the best. This is the only thing I can think of. This is peak, bro. This is peak. Whoever thought about this was fucking smart. I did. Smart, bro.
You can bring your camera.
So
But you can't record that, and I'll be right back. I need to get it charged so this doesn't die.
I know, right?
Okay. Okay, I will.
The guy's the gift first of all, so no money on me. My part.
We had 4 people.
Really good.
Huge. I guess
So if someone were to say something indecent, you would have to cancel this stream, right? Right?
Yes.
Right?
Don't you dare.
It's the most scum shit I've ever.
Hey,
I get away. Maybe it's supposed to pick it up. I think you're saying.
I know, right?
Wait,
Hello.
It's just put this anywhere and that doesn't mind. But can the Bluetooth reach that? Okay, we just have to test. Open your phone to the live stream real quick. Wait. Why does it look like that? Are you streaming from the browser? Wait, it ended because the app doesn't work. Wait, it's not. No, it should still be going. It should still be going now. This can't be real. What do you put in? Hello? Hello? I'm Finn.
Mic test. This is mic test. Test.
Put it where it can see and hear the stage. You can see and hear the stage. Like move it to the front row of chairs. Yeah, can you move it to the front row?
Move the setup.
Yeah, can't you like zoom the camera out and be up at front and have it like this? Have it this way?
We tried, but the this or this would be blocking the image. Is it picking up? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that okay. This is us. You can barely tell what's going on, but it's like the best I could do in like 10 minutes.
Well,
it's because of the lights.
You got to entertain him.
It's because of the lights. As soon as we shut off the lights, you can see better.
I'm gonna shut the mics.
And I was trying to.
Yes, we have. They get at the table at the front.
I've been making an announcement just to make sure that if you want to stay, just some people might not understand.
Yeah, we're gonna do that at the very.
Did you also give them a bag of, or sorry, paper with the directions on it with the chip bag?
They got a pamphlet that a Daisy is handing out, and then she's explaining it at the front. And then we're gonna explain it on stage as well.
Daisy, I have to go.
What box?
I have to use your scooter. Is that okay?
What boxes? We're not. We're just using the mics.
Oh.
It's gonna be those 4 mics right next to the computers. There's 4.
You were disconnected.
Yeah, it's people get afraid.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
On the phone.
That was Nico asking.
Wait. Oh, that was you.
It's on the phone.
Okay.
Just put the phone closer to the screen.
Well, can you help me out with that? Because I don't want, like, how are we gonna, like,
The scooter's the only thing about it.
effectively do that with the scooter?
We moved the scooter to the front row.
Oh. The thing is, look, it would have to be angled, and then there's no, like, way for it to not be
Well,
angled.
can someone just hold the camera? Designated camera.
The whole time.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a long ass
2 hours. Just gonna like.
Okay, we'll bring the scooter and we'll see what we can do.
Life papers. See the chairs in the front row with gaps in them.
Okay, let's try and figure it out.
And the life papers.
No, it's fine.
All right.
Because it'll be too much
No
of a
one's
pain
watching.
to start it up
Okay.
again.
No one's watching.
Faces from back.
Okay, could you guys help me out with this?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, actually, we'll go this way.
Oh, the ramp. Good idea. Oh. Their front row is being fake.
I thought we were gonna set up here. We can go like one step up.
Who's getting this?
Wait, are you?
We are going to move the camera. Here, put it in this row right here.
Here or there?
No, this
Here.
one.
Up here.
Which one?
Yeah. This is so horrible.
Shut up.
Wait, which one? Up there?
Okay, whatever.
Is it not like this?
We're gonna need to be close to you.
Put it in sideways. Just and put it under the. There we go. Like the.
Yeah, here.
You put it under the chairs by chance?
Can it fit?
That's definitely not fitting.
That's not gonna fit. Dude.
The problem is
Hey,
that
can you-
there's
can you
no
grab
outlets.
this? Can you grab
I
this?
need to have this hooked up.
Oh wait, it needs to be charged.
I mean, maybe it's fine. It's 49%, but
That's
I
not
don't
gonna
know.
last 2 hours. We can't have it in the back. No one hear anything. We can't. We can have it, I guess, on the side there for the wheelchair.
What about right there on stage?
We just put it on stage.
Why not?
Can that thing stand on its own?
Yes.
It's got a kickstand.
Let's try it.
We're really going. All right. Yeah. All right. All right. Are you just gonna tilt it down and look at people?
That's
the best
Well, you put it here. Have it face this way.
This is fine. Like, dude, why put the bottom of the stage? Fucking tilt it up.
What? What you watching?
Are you live right now?
Yes.
Yes.
We are.
Oh,
We are.
yes. Put it on the stage.
What do you mean not on the stage? I need the outlet. The outlet's right there, though. Oh, there isn't. Show me.
Let's get a longer cable. That's a weird angle, though.
That's. Can you do it in the middle, underneath the? Put the scooter underneath the seats.
But there's
We tried that, but there's no outlets.
We could. That's right. We could. Yeah. Some.
Okay, could you ask them?
What? I don't know.
We're gonna have it right there.
So you can put the scooter underneath.
Yeah.
Or to the side, and then it should hold up. Probably right in front of you.
Damn.
Wait. Does it fit? No.
That fit.
Does it have to be straight? Can you put the kickstand where it goes to the side?
The thing is, this will be a little
Weird
tilted.
angle if we do that.
When the slide drum, the slide drum, what's it called? Before the slide, before we like get on stage, can you say that before?
Could you move a little? Mouse, could you move a little?
They're all gonna explain.
Percent.
And then in the middle of each segment.
They can announce.
Yeah, there's, no, I have to, I made it time, so it's maps, Newport, and then it's,
Okay, we should start that later.
no.
I looked back into.
Ah, I think so.
Go anywhere.
Just put the chairs closer to each other.
Have to go a little more this way. Yeah, cut off that chair. This speaker.
That's like as good as we're gonna get it. I really don't want to move it anymore.
Wait, move the chair a little bit. You stick screw this way. That everything happens.
Yeah.
There- yeah.
We don't want to stop.
Oh, you can put like just in the middle, like move this chair. No. Why is he framing it?
Place that. Oh, yeah.
Perfect, dude. What are you talking about? No, that's good.
Yeah. I don't know what he's. Oh, I think we.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's good.
There you go. That's it.
I'm a master of this question. We're like 2 minutes. So what do I do?
So there is just absolutely no outlet to it. Then I'll put on battery saver mode or something.
Yeah, do better.
You do?
The better.
I don't have one.
Yeah.
This one.
No, it's at 46. 46.
46. But it lasts a while. It's just, I don't know. I just got the phone. Yeah.
What do I do?
Uh, I think you're good. I can leave now. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I guess. We're gonna be doing up there.
I'm probably this one.
Oh yeah, you only need one.
We don't really need that.
Yeah, fine.
I'm taking from one professor, Lord. He's going to right here. We'll have it outside this. We'll have all today. You never make it. Don't get me available. Gerald, it can be available. So,
You're not good. Yeah, watch it. It's all right. You're not good. It just wastes time. I don't want my quality to look bad. Look like. The president, sorry, the president. Hold on. I have just like. There's like a debate, like an election right now.
yeah, but that's what's right. I was just there for the second one, but this is my next one. Yeah, it's cool. I was going back and forth because it was. I want to support my friends that are there, and at the same time, you know.
How do they in the vote? Are they like ballot or what?
We have a third. We have like
Post it up that way. Post it up.
Really? Let's check out. It's really fancy. It's actually new for its time. I thought it's
One of that. What was it?
I'll have the link.
One of those.
Why don't you guys do this? I'll do the mouse link that did before we sign it.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long time from the swamp to the sky. It's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers.
So what made me start with the reality is I realized that our political climate over the last 30 years has really elevated to very divisive sides and ideologies that have been generally well rad. And so some of the impacts of that is coming down to individual families. I know, for instance, I'm kind of tired of my innocence.
Sorry guys, we're having technical difficulties. Bear with us.
Where did you open?
She's still up there? There she goes. Or who's that?
Right? We usually be able to come together, study overall and rest, talk with each other and see how everyone is doing, rather than focus on the politics abroad or at home, because we're going to advice on conversation.
America wants change, but there's a responsible way to make change and a reckless way. And we can make that change without forgetting who we are as a country. So that's what I'm going to lay out tonight. Because whether you're from Wyandotte or Wichita, most Americans share three core beliefs: that the middle class is the engine of our country, that strong national security protects us from harm, and that our democracy, no matter how messy, is unparalleled and worth fighting for.
All's my life I have to fight. All's my life hard times like bad trips like up on me, you up, but if God got us, then we gon' be all right. And when I wake up, I recognize you looking at me for the pay cut, but I'm assuming looking at you for the demon. And let me tell you about my life. Painkillers started making a quiet night. Already picture me this the highlight. I tell my mama I love what I like. Lord, no, my Chevy, tell them to come and give me reaping everything I stole. So my mama come here, let me tell me here is more. Come on, silence for the record. Yeah, well, I know this. Dance on my face is darling. When you know we've been down before. When the price was low, looking at the world like where do we go? And we hate for when they kill us dead in the street for sure. I'm in the beat just know when these kids weak and my dog might blow up people, we are.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you guys for bearing with us. This is our first time doing a live debate. Obviously, Middle Ground, we're a new club here on campus. We're glad everybody could be here with us tonight. Obviously, this is going to be our live debate. We're going to announce the rules or go over the rules a little bit later. We have the privilege of having moot court here, YDSA. Is it on? It turned on. We have the privilege of having moot court, YDSA, and Matt here with us tonight. And with that, we'll get on with the slideshow. All right. So you guys can see, as you guys can see, I don't need to. Okay, that's my bad. That's my bad. Sorry, guys, about technology. Here, as you can see, this is going to be our live debate. You can obviously really read through, but the purpose of this is going to be a chip system. So if you can raise your hand, who has chips in the audience? As the brown paper bag, if you guys can raise your hand high. Okay, cool. We have a lot of speakers tonight, so that's good. So the chip debate was originally made by Dr. Moreau, who's going to be our advisor, who's over at CAPE, which stands for Center for Analyzing Political Engagement here on campus. CAPE is a non-polarizing or non-partisan organization to study politics through the U.S. We are lucky enough to partner with them, and they are the one who is sponsoring for tonight as well. So as you can see, the purpose of the live debate is to create a space for students from all over backgrounds to engage in open, respectful dialogue, I hope, about some of today's most pressing social and political issues. Rather than focusing on the winning of the debates, this event emphasizes understanding different perspectives, engaging participants to engage actively, all right? Ask thoughtful questions, and then it keeps turning on. All right, sorry guys, it just keeps turning off. Communicate with their views with confidence. All right, we want to make sure that we can have a, as I said earlier, respectful debate and where everybody can understand each other, but at the same time get their point across. So as you can see, this is not going to be a. Thank you. Testing. 1, 2, testing. Oh. Testing. All right, sorry guys. So again, through our chip system, which is going to be unique to this, no one has done this before. This is entirely new, unique system. So as you can see, there's been a lot of difficulties tonight, and this is going to center around how this is brand new. This has never been attempted before. This is a new style of debates. All right, so through our chip system, we ensure that everyone who wants to speak or will have a privilege to speak tonight has an opportunity to speak and be heard, promoting equality and equity through participation. All right. The live debate also serves as public speaking, listening skills, foster community connections across clubs and individuals, and empower students in a meaningful and inclusive way. All right. So everyone that got a badge, brown paper badge, we will talk about the rules a little bit later, but that means that you guys will each individually have time to speak. Eric right now is handing out what each of the chips means. So even if you do not have a chip bag, you will still understand and go on with the debate with what we have. Okay. So we're going to go over clubs and organizations next, right?
Okay, so the first club that we have, if someone from MAPS could come up on the stage.
Justin.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. So I'm here today with Matt, Minorities in Philosophy. I'm the president. We're a club that's interested in endorsing minority participation in philosophy. So we really essentially seek to, endorse this and educate ourselves in minority philosophy and topics that have been suppressed over generations. To really become aware of ideas that hold weight that were, genuinely just censored. So, we don't only specialize in minority philosophy, we're mainly interested in DI in general. So like, anybody interested in talking about anything minority related that maybe relates to political philosophy, like last week, we had a topic on open borders. I'm sure everybody here is pretty passionate about that. I think that's a very important topic and doesn't get talked about. So, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so the next club that we have is Cat Court.
Hello, everybody. My name is Salma Sharif. I'm the external vice president for Cat Court, which is the moot court of UC Merced. Some of you might not be familiar with what moot court is. Essentially, it is a simulated appellate court proceeding where participants argue legal issues before a panel of judges. You can compare it to mock trial, except mock trial is more there's witnesses in the jury, where moot court is just purely legal arguments presented in front of a panel of judges. You should join because of the essential skills that you'll derive from this and the connections that you will make. You will learn how to craft and make persuasive legal arguments. We simulate real appellate court proceedings. We work with actual case law and legal principles. And if you're interested in law school, this is a part of almost every single law school's curricula. You get to interact with judges, attorneys, and law professionals. Like, for example, just recently, we had our district attorney, Nicole Silvera, and Chief Deputy County Counsel, Jenna Anderson, come in and serve as judges for our first mini moot court proceeding. And it was really successful. It was a really great time. And just started our club just a couple weeks ago. So next year, we have a bunch of new guest speakers lined up. So if you want to make valuable connections, I would suggest coming down to this. And if you're not interested in law school or career in law, you get exclusive networking opportunities. You improve your critical thinking, public speaking, and writing skills, which translate into other parts of your life, which are incredibly valuable. And you will get the chance to represent UC Merced in intercollegiate moot court competition. So I would consider coming down to this. Thank you.
Testing? Okay. The next club that we have is YDSA.
Yeah.
Hi guys, my name is Steven. I'm the chair of the UC Merced chapter of the Young Democratic Socialists of America. So we're the youth wing of the Democratic Socialists of America. If you've heard of it at all, that's okay if you haven't. So really we're interested in empowering the working class and in particular empowering students on campus to make changes in their community. So right now, what we've been working on, we go out to the lake with Yosemite down there every other Sunday, and we go and clean up trash and just connect with community members in Merced. We've also been working on creating a student workers union for student workers on campus to ensure better wages and just better treatment of workers overall. And we've been working on working with admin and the regents on making UC Merced a sanctuary campus for our undocumented and international students and classmates in light of all of the recent events that have been going on with the current administration. So if you're interested at all in getting involved in your community, both on campus and in the city of Merced, definitely join YDSA. Thank you.
Hey, so I am the treasurer. So I'm gonna tell you about I don't know, dude. I'm gonna tell you about just the overview of the event tonight. First, we're going through opening announcements right now. We're gonna tell you about how the CHIPS debate, functions are gonna work. And as well as some ACOSM candidates that we have lined up. And also prize info. So the debate, the first round of the debate is going to be basically midpoint announcements, and then prize reminders, and then after that we'll have the candidate spotlights. For for round two, same thing, more club highlights, prize updates after the first time, and then ASUCM announcements. On the third final round, we'll have closing remarks, final club announcements, then the raffle winners, and then just thank you for spending your time here.
All right. I don't know if this is gonna cut out on me, but this is the basics of what the chip debate is. Most of you people got handed out one of these papers. So basically, people who are speaking up here, they should have gotten a bag with blue chips, red chips, green chips, and yellow chips. There should be kind of like a certain amount of them. And basically, the blue chip represents a main argument. So you get 2 minutes to present your main argument. And for a red chip, you can ask a question, and this is for an audience only. So if audience members would like to participate, they got a bag with these chips in it. And then the green chip acts as a brief comment from the audience. And then the yellow chip is where you can deliver your closing statement. But yeah, these are what's in the contents in each bag. I'm sure you guys have received all of these, and just let us know that if you have everything you need in them. And if anyone doesn't have one of these that needs it, just let us know and we can hand those out. And, as you guys should all know, the ASCM elections are coming up. So if there's candidates here that want to come up, please feel free to come and give the position. And then for everyone, you can use the QR code.
Quick, reminder, it's only one at a time, for 2015. Yeah, okay,
Everyone hear me? Everyone hear me? Alright. Hello, everybody. My name is Alfonso. I'm a second year political science major. I'm running for I'm running for senator for the shot department. As you may know, what is called the shot department is very, very important. So we could UC Merced shot department is very important. One things I want to do is expand tutoring for classes that are much more intense to Poly 10 or other classes in the shot department that are not needed. I know many people struggle with Poly 10, and I know I struggle with Poly 10 too. And honestly, I think we should expand more tutoring for classes that are much more intense. In every class, I like to work with admin. I like to work with different professors. What's called also the what's called the Senate department chairs. I would like to work with them too. And also, one of my priorities I want to do is work with different clubs such as Middle Ground, such as all of these clubs that there are. I want to expand, I want to promote them. And I would like to also, and me and my other senator, well, candidates, we will work together to make sure, that different clubs, what is called are heard and have the funding is necessary too. And yes, thank you. Well,
Hey everyone, good evening. My name is Saman Bajpai. I'm running for senator at large. Oh, and my biggest priorities is making sure that RCOs, our registered clubs and organizations, are properly funded so that we can do events like these more often. I remember in the previous years, funding would be very stringent and things like this would be a dream. And of course, as we know, with the current political climate, funding could possibly become even more stringent. So I want to make sure that we're able to do events like these definitely more often. Kate is the one that helps sponsor most of this, but ASUCM is traditionally also one of the bigger sponsors for a lot of club related events. So I want to make sure that we get the funding we deserve. And then the second part will be accessibility, outreach, and expanding advertisement. I love the turnout today. We can definitely increase it more, reach out to more people who are interested in speaking about these topics, working with Middle Ground, working with Justice for Palestine, working with Bobcat Mall United Nations. Oh, I'm not president of Mall United Nations, by the way. Things like that. That's what I'm going to be running my campaign on. Saman Bajpai. I'm the guy with the blue suit. Vote for me and vote for these wonderful fellows right here. Thank you.
Hello. All right. All greetings, my fellow Bobcats. My name is Christopher Alvarez, and I am running for ASUCM Senator at Large. Upon returning from a gap semester, I found myself yet in a small community, and I've seen the quality of improvements that this campus has grown over the last year, and I want to be a part of those accomplishments. From my political background, I used to be a student site council back in my old high school. I was a part of ASB leadership, and I was the president of the anti-vaping club. If I were elected senator, I'd work closely with the school's food, with the dining center, and I'd make sure that our students gets their accommodations. I'd also work closely with our student accessibility service team to promote awareness, promote more academic resources to our students with disabilities here. And another thing I do as senator at large here at UC Merced, I work closely with our undocumented students here because UC Merced is the land of opportunity, and people from all over the world come to the United States because they want their lives to be better. And what better is it than to have someone that will always advocate for them and someone that would always lead by example. Thank you very much and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good night so far. My name is, excuse me, my name is Brianna Velasquez. I am a double major right now. I am in political science with an emphasis in IR and a mechanical engineering student with an emphasis in aerospace engineering. I want to start off by asking how many of you have an emphasis and have not been able to get classes for your emphasis? Okay, quite a few. I also want to ask how many of you have tried signing up for courses when registration has just opened and it's not available for you to select any of the courses you need? Okay, so what I'm trying to do is get more lectures and just get more push notifications for us to know when these portals are opening. I want to create more resources as well, such as having co-ops such as internships. It's fun, such as internships and fellowships for us. There's many here that are not known of, most which require you having a 3.5 GPA and higher, which I don't think is very fair, especially since we're in the Central Valley and not many jobs are offered to students here. So what I want to do is again, just bring co-ops for all majors, whether you have a 2.0, a 2.3, 3.0, 4.0, anything throughout that range. I want to increase accessibility for the student accessibility services. I am close with the director, Drew. I know a problem they have right now is not having a fax machine. It recently broke. So just having these resources for them so that we can get timely meetings and just work around our schedules rather than having us as students work around the lecturer schedules. I don't think it's fair that we're paying for things that we can't really acquire. And that's what I'm running for here at UC Merced. Thank you.
Okay, sure. All right, hi guys. Next we're gonna go on with the raffle. So if everybody can hold up their raffle tickets.
Yeah.
If you have your raffle ticket, hold them up high. If you do not have a raffle ticket, you can go outside to the middle ground table, the check-in table, and receive your raffle ticket. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a runner that's gonna come around and collect them. And then once we get your raffle tickets, we're gonna do a raffle right now. Remember, we have 2 tote bags full of UC Merced merch. So we have a paw, we have, the UC Merced pennant. We also have, we have a water bottle in there as well. And then also in both of those bags, we have portable chargers as well, right?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay.
Testing, testing. Excuse me. So I just kind of like lost raffle tickets. So if you guys don't mind like going outside and just signing your name again, I apologize for the inconvenience this may have caused.
Marjan, do you have like a couple?
I have raffle tickets from people that have already submitted them.
Okay. Can you give them to a Daisy? Yes. Yeah.
Yep, we'll be back. Just gonna say hi to the folks at presidential debate.
Here, I'm gonna need to do numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can bring your raffle tickets up here to me. No, you don't need to. You know your name, right? Yeah. Okay, then so.
Okay, you guys, I'm gonna come around and collect raffle tickets. I'm gonna start from this side of the room and I'm gonna make my way that way, okay? You have your raffle tickets ready.
Testing does work.
Although I already went on the I don't know the point. I don't get we call it stage.
We need to collect everybody.
You guys, hello, you guys, no.
If everybody can just hold up their tickets, Marjan in the back is gonna be coming around and picking them up, all right?
All right, so Robbie got confused. There's one other girl I have to grab it from, so that's it.
Okay, this is our last call, raffle tickets, the last call, until later on in the debate. No, people's gonna like follow on this. We're gonna do like, so I have to yeah, okay. Okay, so we're gonna announce the first winner. Get a bag of the Merced merch. That's the water bottle on one of these things, a banner, and then a tote bag.
Xerxes, you're the winner.
Yeah. Hello, you. You think you're better? Oh my god. You guys know.
We will, don't worry, we will have other raffles that are gonna be coming up. Again, we have more items in the bag, and then also we have two $50 Amazon gift cards as well. All right, so stay tuned. All right, we will be handing those out.
Okay, so next, if you guys can scan this QR code and fill out the attendance form, just real quick, takes like 1 minute to do.
Anybody else need the QR code? Alright, guys, I'm not gonna use the microphone to keep turning on. Again, we're gonna go over the live debate PSA. So as you can see up here is gonna be our rules. So again, when you guys are up here or within the audience, again, we're gonna have speakers that are gonna come up here and speak. And then also for audience members that do have the brown bag, you also do have an option of having questions or comments from the audience as well. We're gonna have runners that go to for those questions or comments, as I mentioned earlier. Again, respect all speakers when giving a question, or if you're on a speaker up here, remember we all have different viewpoints and that we should understand each other, even if we disagree. Use the chips wisely. So each of the chips that you guys have, there's going to be how much speaking time that each of those chips are going to be allotted. Remember, please stick to your speaking time. You will be timed. And somebody mentioned earlier, you can trade your chips. So if you have a brown bag and you do not want one of your chips, you can trade them out with somebody else in here if they would like, but it needs to be mutual, okay? Also, again, just listen while other people on stage or speaking. Ask thoughtful questions. We don't want anybody, I don't know what the best word is, but please don't kind of BS it. Kind of ask thoughtful questions. Ask a little intriguing and see if they know the subject that they're talking about. And then again, try and do it with curiosity and not with confronting them in any sort of rude manner. All right. Again, for don'ts, no personal attacks while you're on stage for either or for questions or comments. This is just more to find out more on the topic and any pros and cons of that sort. And again, if speakers out here, we don't want to hear any boos. We don't want to hear any clapping is okay at a minimum, but we do not want to interrupt the speakers in here or in the audience as well. Right? Again, avoid shouting. Side conversations are fine, just as long as it's to a minimum. And then also, no filming, if possible. The only thing that's going to be our live debate, filming up here, and then a photographer, which is going to do pictures around the room. Okay. Again, do not speak without a chip. If you guys are going to speak from the audience or runners are going to come by, verify your chip, write down your name, and then they will come down a queue, make sure that you have time to speak. And then if you do have a chip and you want to come up on the stage, we will have Eric raise your hand, over here for a queue to write your name and make sure that you get the time and space to come up here and do that. Okay.
And then also, Marjan, she's gonna be the person for whoever wants to speak in audience, just give the audience tip to her and afraid. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the live debate topics: immigration, gun control, and homelessness. So the first one we're gonna talk about is immigration. And you guys, some of you guys should have received a packet in the front, basically explaining like what we're gonna be talking about with immigration and questions to like consider. And here's a little overview of what immigration is. So whoever wants to come up like first, you guys can start doing that now.
So yes, if you guys have a blue or yellow chip and you guys would like to come up here and speak, you can go over to Eric, who's going to be here right here on the left, and you can get on the queue. All right.
Anyone? Anyone?
Come on, guys. We have one. Oh, we have two. Oh, wow. Okay. All right, sorry, real quick, guys. These two participants are gonna come up and speak. If you guys do have questions or comments, even though they do have 2 minutes to 1 minute to speak, they are still gonna come up here unless somebody else goes to the queue and comes up. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, just raise up your chip. Marja will come around and put your name on the queue, what chip it is, and then you guys can ask your questions or comments, correct? That's it.
Does it? All right. So, I'm pro-immigration. My argument follows, from the rights and freedom movement. If people believe that, the freedom, to move wherever you want is a human right, and that, we should be able to freely move between states, I feel like that argument then follows further to, the argument that we should be able to move between borders. I don't think there's any justifiable reason to prevent somebody from traversing the border unless we're in danger of violating another right. Maybe, we're gonna violate like security risks or something. It's understandable, but I think borders should be much, much more relaxed. Or we to deny people like a better life. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, like, who are we to deny people a better life? They want to live a better life. They're no threat to us. We should let basically anybody in. Yeah.
Hello, testing. Hi. I agree with a lot of the sentiment that was expressed by my peer right here. I think when we're talking about immigration, it's very important that we contextualize it. And so I like to think about, let's see what the Trump administration says about immigration when Donald Trump is showing these graphs that say 2.7 million crossings in 1 year, 3 million crossings in another. These graphs are showing crossings that the US state has recognized. These are asylum seeking people, which under the Immigration Nationalities Act, the INA, people from foreign nations have a right to come onto our border and onto our soil in search of asylum if they're fleeing disaster, fleeing war, fleeing poverty. So people who come across our borders have the right to do so. I'll just say, so the people who are coming across our borders have a legal right to do so. And that's why if you were to look at videos of people crossing, once they get across, say if they're crossing a river or they get past the wall that has been built, the first thing they do is they seek out Border Patrol because they're trying to get themselves on a wait list to be in front of a judge where they can plead their case for asylum. So it's very silly when we have people on the right trying to frame immigration as if it's an issue of people sneaking across our border and that going unnoticed. It should go without saying, America has one of the strongest surveillance capabilities in any nation on earth. Our NSA is second to none. It's very difficult for anyone to cross our southern border and get into our country without us knowing. And also, it should be known that over 60% of people who are here illegally are here because they've overstayed visas. Visas, the vast majority of people do not come across our border illegally. And I think that overall the Democrats and Republicans have both failed the American people by not pleading the case for asylum seekers passionately.
Okay, so we have a question from.
I understand that you mentioned 60% are here because they overstayed their welcome. But what about the other 40%? I don't think that's a small number. And I understand there are absolutely people who are coming here as asylum seekers, but you can't deny the existence of people who absolutely come here illegally with the intention of spreading harm and generally committing criminal acts because there's a lot of sympathy towards them.
Yeah, I think you raised an important point. Obviously, there is the other 40%. These are people who a good chunk have come across, obviously, blah, who have crossed our border illegally. There was another part that you mentioned, which was that they're coming here with the intention of committing crime. I'd like to push back on that. If you look at statistics, you'll see domestic US citizens are far more likely to commit a crime than an illegal immigrant. And we can just try and imagine, if we put ourselves in their shoes, why this would be. These are people who are fleeing very difficult and dangerous situations in their home countries, and they're coming to America for an opportunity for safety and success. So it doesn't make sense for them to commit a crime and risk being sent back home when they went through all the effort. They likely, depending on what routes they took, they had to pay a lot of money and go through a lot of dangerous areas just to be able to get here. That's why it doesn't make sense that immigrants are not committing the same amount of crime at the same proportion that domestic US citizens are.
Yeah, I mostly agree with him. Like, just because a couple of immigrants they come over, maybe they want to commit crimes, it doesn't mean we should demonize them all. Like you said, people are coming over here for a more secure and more successful lifestyle, and we should demonize all immigrants because they want to commit crimes. I mean, U.S. citizens commit crimes too. I feel like this is the type of fear mongering we see from like conservatives. This idea that immigrants are criminals. They're coming over to steal black jobs. And it's really it's silly to be honest.
Um, so we know now that in the previous election, immigrants voted in record numbers for the current Trump administration. So what do you think that is? Why do you think that immigrants switched over a lot while previously supporting the Democratic Party? You're seeing a lot of, especially Latino men, now supporting the Republican Party.
I guess I can speak. I mean, I really can't know the answer to that. There's so many variables at play. If I'm being honest, I couldn't prove this, but my own opinion is just people are just misinformed and just tend to be uneducated on the type of policies administration support. I think most immigrants understood what Donald Trump stands for, what MAGA stands for in general. They vote for him. I think once you explain fascism to people, they'll come around. I hope.
Yeah, I'll take that too. I think this is where it ties into what I said at the end of my opening statement, where I believe both the Democrats and Republicans have failed the American people and have lied to the American people in this regard. I think a lot of immigrant families, including like the first generation or second generation Americans, have this mindset that when they came here and when their families came here, they did it the right way, and they're here because they actually want a new opportunity. And those new immigrants who are across the border now, those are the bad ones. Those are the ones bringing fentanyl across our border, bringing all this like crime across our border. So there's this mindset of like almost kicking the ladder down that the older generation of immigrants were more moral than the new ones. And I think that's because the Republican Party for over a decade now has been demonizing immigration and has been demonizing immigrants. And the Democratic Party has done nothing to push back against that. And in recent years has capitulated to their arguments by trying to argue for stronger border protection. We saw in the Harris campaign, she was arguing that she's going to increase protections at our border. That's doing the opposite of what we need a working class politician to do, which is fight these lies so that people are able to know the truth and know how they lie and slander immigrants.
Multiple times you mentioned that an American citizen is liable to commit a crime over an immigrant. And you keep drawing upon statistics, but you haven't quantified where these statistics come from. You haven't mentioned which database specifically. And also you are using evidence again and again to strengthen your point that you haven't based in any reality. I think that you're invalidating your own points. And I would like if you would address that.
Yeah. Obviously, it makes sense for you to want a source. I don't have an exact source on these numbers. I encourage you to look that up.
You're the one making the point.
Back and forth, you just let him respond.
Yeah, if you think I'm making an erroneous claim that's not factual, I encourage you to prove me wrong. And I do agree the burden of proof should be on the person making that claim. I don't happen to have the exact number. I don't know if it's, of Census Bureau, what agency those numbers are coming from, if it's FBI crime statistics. But if anyone would like to pull that up and fact check me, I'm more than welcome to validate my own argument and prove me right. Thank you.
Is there another question?
It's fine, I can speak loud. Just to respond to the previous comment, I'd like to state that the National Institute of Justice has an extensive study that proves this fact, as well as Stanford has a study that is cumulative from the 1960s that proves that immigrants are 60% less likely to commit crimes than U.S. citizens. From Stanford, the cumulative study over the past 80 years. I don't know how much time I have to comment, so I'll just quickly say that as a child of asylum seeker, I consider the asylum process in the 1980s was extremely difficult. Now, with the amount of backup, with the amount of lack of judges and court proceedings, I can attest that a lot of people are avoiding asylum. So the amount of people coming here seeking asylum is probably higher than the amount of people who actually apply for asylum. Other comments?
Any other questions, comments?
Okay, yeah, so then I'll give my closing statement. The first part is obviously I encourage everybody to do their own research on this and look at the facts, because I promise you what's coming out of the Republican and the Democratic Party is just not the truth. The closest that we get to true numbers is when both parties will say the amount of border crossings per year. Those are factual. But when it comes to crime statistics, we don't hear those. We don't hear those statistics coming from either of our main parties. And that's to create a division between the working people of America and the working people abroad that only justifies, strong on border policies and strong on immigration policies that ultimately are just divisive to not only the people within our country and outside, but already the very diverse cultures that we have in America.
I was not easy speaker. My closing statement would basically be the same thing as my opening statement. Like I was saying, if we believe in the human right of freedom of movement, it should then follow that we believe in open borders, well, much more relaxed borders. Like I was saying, there's no reason to not let people cross borders unless it involves some type of violation of other rights or security risks. I also agree with everything other co-hosts are saying here. The Democratic and Republican Party has failed us. There's been so much fear mongering of immigrants, as stated by the guy in the crowd. They're 60% less likely to commit crime. These are. I really just think the way we should look at it is these are just humans looking for a more secure and successful life. I mean, like sometimes with a lot of the rhetoric we see, especially nowadays from like the administration we're seeing, it's like we talk about them as if they're not. I just think, it's wrong.
All right, thank you guys. Any other comments or questions?
Yes. I wanted to like build off that you've been saying in regards to the point that people might be crossing the border in order to commit crimes. If people are crossing the border in order to commit crimes, then what is the relevance of this? Like, if I wanted to go to another state to commit a crime, does that mean that we should be more tightly controlling movement of citizens between states? And if so, how far does this go? If I wanted to move to another street in order to rob my neighbor, should I be like monitored for moving across the street? What it is
difficult to run a government, almost impossible, and creates enormous amounts of waste to run a government on a platform of mistrust. A government, if it should exist, should foremost have trust in its people, because if you don't trust the people, what have you got? That's the point of it.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay, so we're gonna do another raffle. So this person is gonna get this thing right here. I don't know. What
It's a pop. It's a pop.
Leslie Reyes. Woo! Okay. Okay, and then we're gonna have one more that will receive this right here. Andrea, can't pronounce your last name. Or no, Ariana. Ariana. Okay, so next, more ACCM announcements. Whoever is running for senator or any other position, would like to come up right now to speak. Anyone? No.
All right, I'd like to announce my person.
Okay, and then we have more announcements.
Any from Matt? That's fine here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our social media information, like I said. But talk about all sorts of things. Actually, alongside this general meeting, we actually we have bi-weekly meetings too, where we guys. So we vote on a free topic. We have free food, free drinks after watching the we discuss it. So we split up the analyze and talk about morals, physiology, anything really. It's not just like lots of movies that doesn't really be this. But like this weekend, watching yeah, our movie night will be this Sunday at 6 p.m. ACS see the information will be on Instagram. Like I said, free food, free drinks. Most likely be pizza, lots of stuff, lots of goods.
If you guys want to take a picture, now is the chance to do so. Okay, so we are moving on. I'm so sorry. Anyone else? Okay, now we're going on to our next topic, which is gun control. And here are some thoughts we're going to talk about. So if anyone who want to come up right now to discuss, feel free to do so.
Oh, what was the topic again?
Gun control.
No, and what will we want to have? Actors in my own camera.
You want to answer this?
He's gonna go.
Okay, you can go.
Oh.
Hello? Good evening, UC Merced. My thoughts on gun control personally are complex and, I suppose that I am open to be persuaded on the floor here. But currently what I would say is, and I realize this is a break from a lot of more, liberal positions on gun control, that we are living in as a community, we are living in a very dark time for a lot of us here who are minorities or who might be at higher risk of having of being involved in a crime and having something inflicted on us. And I would say that for situations such as that, gun control is difficult to implement because let's be honest, it's the administration that we have right now. We're controlling the access to any group's guns. Which group do you think it would be? So I think like the inherent in governments such as this, control is always first applied to groups that the government is seeking to oppress. And this is why I think that, at least for now, a tenable solution for gun control cannot be reached. Again, I'm open to be persuaded on this, but that is how I would describe the situation at hand in the current day.
With regards to gun control, I believe that the founding fathers, when they wrote the Second Amendment, they intended it to be a right that the government cannot infringe upon, like the right to bear. Oh, excuse me. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed, which basically means that the government can't. Hello? The government cannot infringe on that right. And so in that regard, I believe that gun control should be sort of restricted to what we can very easily implement, very easily enforce. With regards to say criminal activity and things like that, I believe that thank you. So say like I'll give you an example. Say like in state of California, things like fully automatic weapons are banned, or suppressors are banned, or high capacity magazines with magazines over 10 rounds are banned. However, many criminals in California have stuff like that. They get that illegally and they often commit crimes using such weapons. So I believe that it's very inconsistent to restrict access to such things when criminals can have access to that as such. At the end of the day, the government is really supposed to look for law-abiding citizens first and foremost, and that the right to bear arms shall be quite broad in my view, shall not be infringed.
Oh, we have a question.
We can hear you. Okay. What I was going to quickly comment is that I feel like at this point in time, gun control regulation has not been effective in any way. It's shown in states where bullets have what do they call it? Numbers on them. They haven't solved any crimes at all, because when you fire a bullet at 100 miles an hour and it lodges into something, the numbers become kind of hard to read when they're already hard to read anyways. And also, you look at like California gun control, for example, you can have a horizontal. It's like
Does that really make a difference? Yeah. And there's a lot of legislation that's passed just to sort of gain support. So then used to say like, oh, look, I'm helping fight, felons.
Trying to build gun control, but a lot of it's actually just for show. And I just thought I'd comment on that. We have
Oh, okay. Sorry, was there another question?
So I understand that the founding fathers did argue for the right to bear arms, but do you think the founding fathers could have possibly been aware of the serious rise in mental health issues, in violent crimes, as well as just in general, the fact that there are more guns in the country than there are living human beings? Do you think that maybe not regulating guns due to something said hundreds of years ago is a valid argument, or do you think maybe there is some benefit to regulation?
See, I wouldn't argue on a Second Amendment basis at all, but also you brought up like one of the most interesting points that interesting. It's hard to talk about interesting when it's human lives at stake, but one of the most salient points I would say, which is that this entire issue, I think, is not an issue of gun control in and of itself, but a issue of a cultural issue and a mental health issue. In order to have a state where a state that is, as in a greater polity, a country where we can have the right to bear arms, but also feel secure in our other rights, then we need to fundamentally change the culture, I think, of America, a culture which is in large part built on the sort of gung ho, I guess you could say, masculine ideal of defending your home from the theoretical invader. And I do think it is an interesting point that it's a mental health issue. Sorry, was there?
I didn't find this in the mic. So my question is, given that 50% of gun deaths in this country are suicides, and the topic is gun control, do either of you have proposed solutions to address how guns are used in suicide and how to at least implement policies to limit that?
I'll start by answering off the question of. I'll start off answering the question I was just asked. With regards to guns and how they use in suicide, I believe that mental health is once again an underlying issue. I believe that restricting gun ownership to people who are not, who do not have a proper mental state of being, is quite valid, and I do believe that we should get behind that. Saying that, also believe that if we were to enact such measures, if we don't fix the underlying mental health issues, many of those people may end up looking to other venues to go doing about said method of analyzing themselves. I do believe that guns being used is quite a serious problem. However, I believe that mental health is an underlying issue that should be fixed.
Yeah, I will. Sorry, is there anything else that you would like to say before?
With regards to the previous question, you can end.
No, go for it.
For the previous questions, with regards to the founding fathers and what they said about how whether they knew about the bad of the country, how it could have been. They knew about say the existence of cannons. Back then, technically speaking, a cannon qualifies as an arm under the Second Amendment, thereby protected. Also, they intended the Second Amendment to be just broad enough to be applicable to a modern day context. They mentioned the Bill of Rights was written to stand the test of time. And so I believe that the founding fathers they didn't know exactly how it was going to look like, but they had a good idea and were very sort of hands off about the issue. And then in regards to the first question about say certain attachments and things like that, I feel that some laws are common sense and then some laws are just they don't really make sense, and the definition of offensive versus defensive is quite silly in my regards in the certain attachments on weapons. Unless a certain attachment creates a totally different level of capability to a firearm. I believe that restricting its use, solely on, say, defensive or offensive use is not a valid stance on restricting that right.
Oh, it seems like we have questions here and there.
You mentioned first that it was a cultural issue. But haven't we already been seeing this cultural shift leading to a greater call for restriction, especially with the rise in school shootings, mass shootings, public violence, as well as church shootings? Well, and also, I'd like to address your statement about the founding fathers being aware of the directions of headed. I don't think they were, because in their time, there weren't many repeating rifles, and even the ones that were very uncommon. So I don't think that they would have been aware of the existence of magazine loaded guns. So do you think that the Second Amendment still protects them?
Yeah, sorry, I'll get to you first. You were raising your hand?
Sorry, using one of the short question things. Considering that the Bill of Rights was drafted very shortly after a violent fight for secession, basically from British Empire, couldn't you consider the Second Amendment more a safeguard against tyrannical government rather than against like invaders? It's there to fight against your government, to overthrow them, rather than like defending your home from invaders.
Right.
Since we've outlawed like trying to with a coup or something, don't you think we should maybe do
I'm sorry, what was that last part? You went a little quiet.
your right to bear arms is basically a means for you to be safe to you being able to bring up.
Right.
As we have it right now, no firearm is going to topple the might of the U.S. military. The reason why guns were so useful at the time of the American Revolution is because they were on par with the kind of weaponry that the British Empire had.
Right. That is a fair point. And again, I wouldn't personally argue from a standpoint of the Second Amendment. But I believe my co-host here might be better equipped to answer that. On the subject of what was the last one? It was on the subject of it being a mental health crisis as much as it is a gun crisis. I do want to push back personally against the idea of criminalizing guns for the mentally unwell, because in this case, this becomes a question of how we define the mentally unwell. As recently as the 1960s, homosexuality, for example, was a mental illness. And we certainly, it's what I was getting into. In governments such as these, the laws and restrictions are first leveraged to oppress. And yes, and in that case, it is fundamentally, I think, a difficult thing to ensure good gun control when inherently control must be an exercise of the government, and we trust the government these days. Yes.
I'll just give it up. How do you guys feel about the argument that if guns were completely unrestricted for those, it would work as a better deterrent than what the approach to gun control right now? Kind of similar to how people argue for the being war deterrents, and the fact that manufacturing powers don't go to war because they don't want to do each other die.
So I'll try and see if I can answer multiple questions at once. I'll start off with the most recent one. I think you're trying to I think you're trying to ask the question of what if we had the idea of an armed society is a safe society. While I do while I do understand the concept of that idea, I believe that completely
having a completely unrestricted level of firearm ownership may not have the effect that it is intended to have. While I do believe like, while I do, like, the concept of an armed society, the safe society, seems sound because the idea of, say, like a criminal trying to attack trying to find a victim to attack is the idea that they want to find somebody who they know they can't, like, they, they know that they won't be able to stop the threat that is a criminal. So, like, in however completely like having an unrestricted amount of firearm ownership, like having no laws, may not have the effect that is intended. If that answers the question that you're trying to ask.
I mean, not really, but I want to say that I don't actually believe this, but I live there.
No.
So my comment is, or question comment, is being a part of a minority, what do you say about the fact that people who are in prison aren't allowed to buy guns, especially being that mostly minorities are in prison, especially the ones that were wrongfully accused? So how do you say we can throw guns out there like that when the government who has our Second Amendment right only wants to be the standard?
I would say that's basically exactly the point I've been trying to make is that for the third time now, governments such as these oppress first and ensure safety later. And that's what makes this such a thorny issue. Personally, no, I'm not gonna say that. Personally, I think that that under this government there can be no safe gun control because fundamentally it is as the issue was said, criminals will get access to guns anyway, and as it was said, an armed society may be a safe society, but our society is not a safe society for so many of us in this time. We had a question over here. Oh, and over here. We have too many questions.
Hello? Okay,
Yes,
can you hear
hello.
me? Okay, so. What is really new? If I'm a skilled person.
Yeah.
Or even in the 1960s, someone who was gay would be considered mentally ill. So how would you define someone as mentally ill now? You know, do you not consider the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual to be a reliable source?
I don't. Defining mentally ill as a category is like we started moving towards neurodivergent for a reason, as a terminology, right? Because it is such a thorny issue. I would say that that gun control should not be restricted based on your mental faculties, like at all. I think that you need to track for patterns of behavior. If you're visiting certain like what we should do is take like a set of statistics. If we really want to start banning it, if I'm imagining the good government that will ban guns and have better gun control, theoretically, what we would want to do is take a statistical analysis of everyone who has we know committed a mass shooting, and then compare like their web searches, which are made public after, or at least made known after they commit their crimes, and their web searches and their like political movements and et cetera, and we log that all in, and then if someone with that profile has to buy a gun, we put a little asterisk. Hey, maybe this one's at risk. That sort of thing. Yes.
Wait, sorry. I'm gonna go.
Oh.
Yeah, the person I can hear you. My question was, when you say you don't want any infringement of the Second Amendment, do you mean that you don't want any restriction at all? I think you already answered this, but I'll ask anyway. Any restriction at all on how people get guns? Like without requiring training or like background checks, how will you make sure that guns
Right.
Okay, so with regards to firearm like regulation, I believe that background checks can be like quite sound when implemented correctly. Beyond say if this person, let's assume that there's like a standardized and proper application for mentally ill, right? If we use the application well, right? Let's say so long as this person is mentally like well off and they're not say a state felon, they're not a felon, then we would just do the proper background checks, like see like, like if they're like suitable for firearm ownership, if they've gone through proper training, yada yada yada. And then once that is done, once that is done, then that person should be given firearm ownership. I'm not sure if you included like firearms, like restriction in regards to firearm capabilities, but I'll just like switch over to the topic of mental health, and just maybe culture overall. Um, I'll give an example. I'll give actually two examples. Outside the US, there are two countries, the UK and Switzerland. The UK,
The only two countries?
the UK, their fire restriction is quite like high. I don't remember if it's like as restrictive as California, but it's like people use like knives there in exchange for guns, and there's quite a decent level of crime there because of it. And then the Switzerland, which actually has a high firearm ownership in there, they have like the firearm culture is ingrained, even though they really haven't been like invaded since like 1798. We actually have been the last time actually was in the 1940s when Japan landed.
Okay, let's get to.
Yeah. Addressing a few comments you've made. First you mentioned an armed society is a safe society because the criminal would be able to hurt somebody. I'm gonna have to disagree because many people with guns are not trained on them properly, and people with guns often store them unsafely or in ways that lead to greater harm. In regard to your comment about mental health not being a great tracker for firearm safety, I'd have to disagree because people with certain mental conditions are more prone to cases like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, which leads to greater cases of firearm harm because these people cannot properly perceive the world around them.
These things just come on and come off at their own whim. They have their own soul. Okay, so even if I think an interesting point, but I would say that like if certain, as I mentioned in that like theoretical statistical database of all mass shooters and their habits, if certain mental conditions did pop up during that section, yes, I think that you can integrate that into the theoretical good background check. But on the other hand, and I do think it's interesting, it could be argued that a lot of these people who commit these major crimes are in a sense that maybe is a little controversial, are stone cold sane. Like you don't have to be mentally ill to be evil, if that makes sense. You can just be convinced of bad things, and I think that that's like a lot of these people like have manifestos. They record everything they think. They have theoretically in their own world lucid reasons to do the things that they do, and I think that is the more salient point here, is that often when these people do these things, they are doing it for similar reasons. There are great degrees of intersection for the reasons between one mass shooting and another. I think that is the major like stopgap, the background check we should be running is, does this person fit the statistical profile of every mass shooter that's come before him?
I'd like to preface this by finishing off my statement that there's a question that somebody had asked, and I don't believe it was answered properly. I answered it. Switzerland, they have pretty high gun ownership, and they have a really like ingrained gun culture, and yet their crime rates are low.
Yeah.
So, like, I believe that having guns while still having low crime rate is possible. That being said, there's a question previously asked by someone about whether like the Second Amendment was for protection against tyranny or protection against invaders. I believe the founding fathers intended to be both. A, so that the people could be sort of like a standing militia in being. And B, many of the founding fathers knew about John Locke and his ideal. I believe it was John Locke. And his ideal was about how if the government does not support the people, if it's not by the people, it's not of the people or for the people, then the people have an obligation to rise up against that government. So I believe that the Second Amendment was for both. And yes. Another question that I believe wasn't answered was about like say the founding fathers didn't know about repeating. The founding fathers didn't know about repeating firearms.
Mentioned that they were far less common.
Far less common.
I believe that the funding was intended for the Second Amendment to be able to keep up with rising new technologies. Because at the time we had things like fake cannons, for example, which I believe, technically speaking, depending on how they're used, are sort of indiscriminate in their like not racially, like sort of indiscriminate in their application. So maybe we don't need to find an important context. Maybe. I'm sort of like going off of argument, but like that, technically speaking, according to some like really pro 2A argumentatives will classify it as protected on the Second Amendment. I'll preface this by saying that I believe that the Second Amendment is meant to apply to say things that are discriminating in their use. I'll start by taking off say a single shot firearm. It is discriminating in use. When you shoot, you intend to aim at one person only. We're not going to take into account stuff like say over penetration with large caliber rounds and things like that. But then we go on then we go to routine firearms. They're discriminate in their use. When you fire once, you're aiming at one person. So say a threat. That is discriminate in its use. Even a fully automatic firearm, yes, it is fully automatic. But when you're firing a bullet, that bullet is meant for one person. Say a criminal threat. Say they're like, I don't know, taking multiple bullets. It is discriminate in its use. Then you can take a grenade, which when it explodes, it explodes in the radius. Indiscriminate. All right, Michael. Yeah.
So, we are gonna end this segment, and then get into the next part, which is if there are any candidates in here right now.
Quick round of applause for.
I'm announcing my candidate now.
So since there are no candidates, at this moment, the next segment again is we're gonna be doing the, raffle. One person will receive a tote bag, the person will receive, mug. Like, yeah. Can you bring your bag? Victor C. Victor C. Kayla. Kayla. Is there a Kayla here? Oh. Okay, if someone from CACORD again can come up. Says
Hello, let's keep this nice and short. We have meetings on Thursday, 7:30 to 9. Next meeting, we actually do have Peter McLaren, a court research attorney, coming in, and Deputy District Attorney Claudia Juarez coming in to serve as two judges for our another mini moot court simulation we are hosting. If you want to, if anyone interested wants to scan this QR code, you will be put on the email list. And I will be sending out the case that we will be going over so you guys can prepare your argument for both sides. And that's pretty much all to share. Meetings Thursday, 7:30 to 9. Thank you so much.
anyone still want to scan the QR code? Anyone want to scan? Okay, so our. Okay. Okay, so, the next topic, last topic is gonna be homelessness. We're gonna have people debating instead of two and. Okay. I got ready. You guys are ready, right? In the audience, audience,
All right, we're about to start.
we're gonna start right now. Guys, ready to go?
Homelessness tends to be a mix of systematic and individual fault. Typically, systematic issues start the cycle of homelessness and then they are followed up by individual choices or individual issues such as addiction or mental illness. In a 2020 National Institute for Health study, they found that lack of affordable housing or well-paying employment initiated homelessness that a lot of people suffered, followed up by addiction and mental illness that made the issue worse. The National Coalition for the Homeless found that 38% of homelessness are dependent upon alcohol and 26% are dependent upon drugs, which tends to be at a far higher rate than found in the general public or those who do not suffer. Generally, and the homelessness argues that affordable housing, mental health access, and economic stability decreases the issue of homelessness and tends to slow the rate of an increase. In 2024, homelessness surged by a record 18.1% due to disasters and an influx of migrants taking away available housing, found by CBS News. And not just homelessness, but people also tend to be unsheltered at a rate of 39.3%, found by the Alliance Against Homelessness. Wikipedia mentions California as a particular point of issue due to the extremely high costs, not just in housing, but in general living as well. Low wages and an employment instability, as well as lacking qualifications for even applying for homes in the first place, exacerbates and increases the issue across the board. Because you need something like 20 or 30% down on a house to even be qualified to start bidding for the house. And most homeless people are unable to meet the qualifications needed to even begin to enter that process, resulting in them staying on the street longer and increasing the chance of addiction or mental illness due to improper shelter, clothing, and medicine.
We're gonna take questions. Any questions?
So what do you personally think should be done about the current, I suppose, epidemic of homelessness?
I personally believe that, my personal belief is that removing corporations such as BlackRock from owning single family homes would greatly reduce the issue of homelessness due to the fact that BlackRock loans these houses out at exorbitant prices far above those in the area and typically leaves them to corporation and employees only, which greatly increases the difficulty in an already very stringent and low quality housing market, on top of general slipping of standards in houses being built, leading to more issues such as lower quality homes and more injuries found in housing. A district in Texas found that a company completely failed to meet building codes across the board for a brand new section of apartments, leading to many injuries and several deaths.
Any questions?
Yes, I have another one. And would you say, and how much of this would you say is contingent on what you described as the influx of migrants? As you said, if we did stop large landlord companies from owning homes in this way, do you think that we could, house migrants coming in and house homeless people? I think that there are plenty of homes to go around.
I don't argue against migrants being the leading cause. They are not, but they definitely do contribute to the issue because they take up available housing. Because those who immigrate and tend to be accepted are those who are